Check out my new DJ controller. So new is a bit of a lie. This is a VSM4, not a 4.1, mind you. This is a VSM4 from American Audio. Why did I buy this thing in 2023? I know it's 2024 when this video comes out. But I bought this thing because it was cheap. I got it for 40 bucks Canadian, and I don't regret it at all. It is a really cool blast from the past that actually is incredibly functional. So what did I get for 40 bucks? Well, to start, one of the reasons it's going to be resting on my knee this whole time, this is a full metal chassis, top and bottom. That's kind of nuts. We have two microphone ins, both balanced XLR 1/4 inch combo jacks. Sweet. With treble, middle, bass, and gain knob for each individual microphone. That was one of the things I really miss about my SX3 was having multiple microphone inputs and EQ control over them. It's okay on my Newmark Mixstream Pro, which is my usual option when I'm going out DJing. It has an EQ now that they put into the software, but a single microphone in. And the workaround is if you have a wireless system like I do, use the mix out on the wireless system, and then you can only EQ both mics at the same time. You can't do them separately. But you control each volume separately on the receiver. So you can make it work, but having two dedicated microphone inputs with dedicated EQ for both is just so nice to have. Not only does it have the balanced ins, it has balanced out. So we've got XLR outs on this out of a USB powered, like this is a bus powered unit. You can get a 5-volt wall wart for it. I didn't get one, maybe someday, but right now I'm just running it USB. I'm told that the LEDs on the front are a bit brighter if you have it plugged into the wall, as well as the headphones are a little clearer or a little louder, but that's your main difference there. Now we've got still RCA outs for booth and for master, as well as multiple channel inputs for running CDJs or turntables. So this is, they called it MIDI log, where it's kind of analog meets MIDI, where depending on the setting on these, you could run a set of turntables, or you could use it to control the software with a flip of the switch, which at the time was kind of a novel concept from everything I've read. Like that, this was pretty new on the market in terms of being able to switch back and forth that easily. Nowadays, that's pretty common. Like I said, I had an SX3. If you wanted to run it DVS and stuff, like that was doable. I haven't tested this with DVS and stuff. I think it works with it, but double check the manual if you're looking at one of these things. Now it is a 2-deck system, but it has, like I said, a 4-channel interface here in the middle in terms of the mixer. On that, there is a mouse pad in the middle of everything. That's real weird. Even at the time, people were like, I don't know, this is pretty gimmicky and kind of terrible. They do have these touch strips here. You can, I think they're user assignable. These ones feel pretty terrible. Like, I don't know if you can hear weird. There's a little like click and pop every now and then just because they're kind of uneven. You can set them to kind of do whatever you want, I think, in the software. So you could have like effects parameters or something like that if you wanted like more like kind of that more modern touch effect kind of feel, or have them like zoom in through a song to find spots and things like that. Like oftentimes you'll have touch strips up top on some of the Pioneer stuff for that. Instead of having a pad section, we have a whole bunch of buttons. I don't mind these. I tend not to use the pads a whole lot on my stuff, and usually it's just for my cue points. So having buttons for cues, perfectly fine. There's 4, and then there's a shift button that opens up another 4. That's perfectly fine. We've got effects section with parameter control on and off, like that kind of stuff. Weirdly enough, these are a rotary knob, but they're marked. They've got like a white, I don't know if you can see that on there, but those knobs for the effects section have the little white reflecting kind of thing there, but everything else is a LED. So it's kind of nice because you can look down at the board and you can really easily see where you have your treble, middle, bass, gain, all that stuff, because you can visibly see the LED. That's actually pretty cool. That's a lot of random LEDs going on there to make that all work, because every knob on here, other than the ones on the effects selection side of things, and the sample selector things here, everything other than those are LED kind of backlit on these little stripes in here. So that's a lot of that's a lot of backlighting. That's pretty sweet. Like I said, you have your loops and stuff on buttons. So if you're used to pads, something like this is going to feel really outdated. The jog wheels on here feel great, but they're really dumb. So they have a good weight to them because they are just a giant chunk of metal. But because they're a giant chunk of metal, they have to do this. There's this gross looking rubber ring that they put around the outer edge, because originally they envisioned people just using this as vinyl mode on or off, right? If you had it off, the whole thing operates just as a way of nudging your track forward or backwards. That's kind of it. If you had it on, it would respond as if you are operating on vinyl kind of thing. So touching it would stop it, and then you control it. Yeah, just like a modern jog wheel kind of thing. But you can't, on like a modern jog, you've got the top that you would use as if it's vinyl, and then you have the edges that you can nudge your track. This you couldn't initially until they added that rubber ring. So I have a suspicion they added that after the design was finished up, and then just programmed it in the firmware to make it work that way. Because people are like, wait, what do you mean I have to hit a button in order to change what the jog wheel does? And that can be a bit of a pain. But it's kind of weird. It just doesn't fit. It feels like an afterthought. Cue, pause, play, all that stuff. Like I said, 4-channel. Crossfader actually feels pretty good. I'm actually impressed at it. Like, I don't do a lot of scratching, cut stuff, but it is nice to have. Going to the front, as I kind of mentioned, we've got like full EQ on all of the microphones, USB versus analog, as well as being able to assign the different ins and outs and stuff for the crossfader. So lots of really good little options here. You can adjust your crossfader curve. There's a light indent. You can kind of feel it stop in the midway there. Normal and reverse for that. So you have so many modern little features on here for its time. Compared to a modern controller, the only thing I feel that this is missing is pads. There is a newer version out there that has pads, but I don't know if it kept a lot of the audio ins and outs. And the 4.1 has a better converter in it, like a better audio card or sound card. So from what I'm told, the 4.1 sounds better, especially in the headphones. I haven't noticed any weird hiss or anything like that when I plug this thing into my speakers and stuff when I've been testing it. But yeah, overall, I really like this thing. I got it specifically. I might start doing some karaoke stuff and things of that nature in the near future. And with this, I don't know if I will use an outboard mixer because, again, I have treble, mid, and bass control on all the microphones. I might use an outboard mixer anyway for that, just because I've got compressors, and you never know with karaoke stuff. But yeah, for the $40 Canadian, which is about $30 or so American I spent on this, I'm blown away at particularly the ins and outs. Can we get ins and out like this on modern stuff? I mean, maybe they just assumed, right? Like, it's one of the problems that I've always had with like the FLX6. FLX6 is a perfectly fine controller. It just doesn't have the mixing functionality that I want in terms of audio. I really liked my SX3 for that reason. So I'd like to see more features like this in mid-level controllers for mobile DJs. I do kind of wish this was the 2-channel version, because the 2-channel version is rack mountable. From what I've tried to look up, this one I don't think is, but it has the holes here to add the rack ears. So I need to figure that out, because if I can rack mount this might turn into a break glass in case of emergency case, where I put this in a slant rack with a amplifier underneath it. So depending on, something broke at a gig, well, I open up the case and I've got a spare controller, I've got a spare amplifier, both racked in there. I don't know yet, but yeah, some of this old gear, It still really holds up. Does it have all of the bells and whistles of the new stuff? No. But if you're just looking for solid ins and outs so that you don't have to bring an outboard mixer, some of this old stuff is great. It does not hardware unlock any modern softwares. The only thing I think it hardware unlocks Virtual DJ LE, but Virtual DJ LE is terrible. So only get this if you already own software it will be compatible with, or run it with Mix, MIXXX. That's what I've been doing while testing it out, as well as I haven't bought Virtual DJ proper just yet, so I've been running it on when you plug it in, it gives you like 30 days using it, and I've been really happy with it. Don't be scared off by older stuff that doesn't happen to have all the new bells and whistles. Some of this old stuff actually works really well and has better I/O than these modern ones. I don't get it. Give me more stuff like this. Maybe not at this weight. This thing is legitimately heavy. I'm okay with some plastic, but yeah, like good jog wheels, access to all of my cue points, robust EQ section for both the channels and for my microphones. That's kind of all I need. Your mileage may vary. You may need, your pads and, different types of options and things like that. This does modernize very, very quickly if you throw something like a, what was it called? Innovation Launchpad or something beside it, and just program that to be pads. Very quickly, this becomes basically a modern system if you just have one thing off to the side that adds pads to it. But then you're adding extra stuff, so you might not want to do that. But yeah, like I said, it's 2024 right now. I bought this thing in 2023. I don't regret it at all. It's a great piece of kit, a good blast from the past. This one's in really good shape, other than some of the bad silk screening is starting to come off. I can see why these were super popular for a little while there, especially because from what I've kind of heard, there wasn't anything quite like them at the time in terms of just the mobility aspects of it, other than the weight, right? Like it just was a very good all-in-one solution that could run with CDJs or turntables or whatever you happen to have that you wanted to plug into it. Yeah, from a controller perspective, it's just cool and weird. Having a mouse pad in the middle could be a good idea. I don't mind it. I need to figure out if some way in Windows, because usually it means you have two mouse pads going at the same time. So adjusting DPI, I think is the term, for this mouse pad and the installed mouse pad. I think there might be a way to separate the two, but overall, yeah, I'm actually really happy with this thing. It's just cool. It's weird. It's fun, and the I/O is great. It's just missing pads. Like that's honestly the only thing that holds this thing back from swinging with much newer units. So if you find one of these for cheap, I do recommend grabbing it. It is a case of you need software with it, but if you can get it for, like I said, I paid $40 for it, makes it a lot easier to justify buying some software that's going to work with it. That's always a hard pill to swallow when you buy like a $500 controller, and they're like, okay, if you want Virtual DJ, it'll be another like $250 or whatever. Although in Canada right now it's like $400. Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed that. If not, all good. I just mostly wanted to talk about my latest Kijiji find, and that's probably my D&D group trying to get a hold of me. So I will see you in the next video.